So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. And you back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Wednesday, February 24th. Hope everyone's having a day so far and a good rest of their day. Yesterday, it is in fact Wednesday, February 24th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far. We are fresh off of a very good Nets win last night. We extend our winning streak to 7 straight games. Is this team rolling right now or what? We are in a groove. We have finally looked like the team we all expected to see when Sean Marks and many other members of this front office signed Kevin Durant, signed Kyrie Irving, and then ultimately, most recently, just a couple weeks ago, traded for James Harden. We were all expecting this team to win games, win them by a lot, and play dominant offense. And we showed moments of that earlier in the year, but not enough. But we are now finally showing that we are truly one of the best, if not the best team in the NBA. And we're showing why we are one of the best teams, or if not the best team in the NBA. And why I'm saying one of the best teams is because there's so many other good teams out there in the NBA. So, the Nets right now are rolling. They are cruising. They are looking good on both ends of the court, to be honest. I mean, our defense wasn't amazing yesterday, but down the stretch, we got some big defensive stops. So, and we haven't been terrible on defense the past couple games. We haven't been great. We haven't been terrible, though. It's not where we want to be, but it's not where we were, as I should say. It's not where we want to be on defense, but it's not where we were. We were the worst team in the league on defense. Now we're now we're close to the worst, but we're not the worst. So we're making slow improvements on the defense side of the ball, but it's not where we want to be, but it is where we are. So it's not terrible, but we'll see how it plays out. I mean, this is a team that was giving up about 130 to 140 points per game, and now we're only allowing about 110 to 115 to 118 last night. So, the defense is improving slowly but surely, and I hope that each game it gets a little better, and by the time we get to the playoffs, it's pretty solid. So, we'll see how it plays out. But so far, this Nets team, I mean, something about this West Coast trip, it's odd because usually West Coast trips are the times where your teams usually struggle a little bit. That's usually West Coast trips. The whole different time change, being away from, home and stuff, and, just being on the road for a long time, teams can struggle, especially with this, where you literally only stay at your hotel the entire day. You can't go out of your hotel. You literally stay in a hotel room. Maybe you go to a meeting room for meetings, but other than that, you're staying in that hotel. So it can be kind of hard. It's not like you're out to go around town, go to lunch or eat dinner or whatever. You get it all delivered to your room, and then with the whole situation involving the virus. So, no, but the Nets are rolling right now. So, Rangers played tonight, nationally televised game, NBCSN. So, that should be good. They played tonight. And obviously the Nets have a day off. Nets will play again tomorrow. Rangers with a big game tonight. Where we're on a 2-game win streak. We got a very winnable game, I believe, against a Flyers team who we beat the last time we played them, which was 2 games ago, and they are really struggling. This is a team fresh off of allowing 7 goals to the Boston Bruins. I know it's the Boston Bruins, but still, it's 7 goals. And the Boston Bruins are a very good hockey team. I understand that. But it's 7 goals, and that's very, very terrible. So let's see if they can bounce back there. Hopefully they don't, and the Rangers win. But we'll get into that. These are the topics for today. We got Aaron Jones rumors as the NFL offseason starts to heat up, as teams start to show interest, teams start to call up about players start to negotiate contracts. As I noted yesterday, the franchise tag period has opened. There has been no franchise tags yet. Like I said yesterday, if there is, I will definitely talk about it on the podcast, but there has been no franchise tags just yet. So we're still waiting. I'm sure they're going to be spread out. They're not all going to happen on one day. I would imagine if they're going to happen near March 9th. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see any franchise tags till the beginning of March. March 1st to really March 9th, I think, is where you'll get mainly most of the franchise tags, because it's almost like by March, that's when teams are finally, getting ready for the next seasons, that's almost like, that. So we'll see how it plays out. But Aaron Jones rumors, the Dolphins are showing some interest in Aaron Jones, and Aaron Jones has some interest in the Dolphins. I will tell you why I think this might be a little bit of an interesting scenario for the Miami Dolphins and running back Aaron Jones if he does decide to sign there. But they both have mutual interest in each other, and I thought that was very big. I mean, I know it's a rumor, but I thought that was interesting because the Dolphins don't really need a running back, which I thought it was interesting, which is why I talked about it today. This report came out yesterday. We'll see how it plays out here. We'll talk about Aaron Jones. Then we're going to get into a little bit of Yankee spring training update. Spring training's in full swing now. Position players reported yesterday. This is their second full day here with the team. So they reported here. I've been talking a lot of baseball, but I felt I haven't really talked anything since last Wednesday, since a week ago when pitchers and catchers reported. So I decided, I'm going to give an update. There's been some stuff, with the Yankees, just some new stuff. There's been some Stanton talk, Cole starting pitcher. Kind of give you a little bit of a Yankee spring training update. Kind of just tell you how's it going there. So far, everything's good. So far, like I said, everything's good. Nothing, there's nothing bad. Team, they're doing their thing. The teams are, players, coaches, just getting ready. I mean, even coaches, they're warming up too. It's a brand new season. Gotta get back into the swing of things. So we'll get into that. Then to finish out the podcast, we got college basketball, NBA, NHL, and fantasy basketball and hockey. Kentucky, by the way, Kentucky does not play today. They did not play yesterday either or Monday. They got their game postponed this week. I believe they play on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday. So they will play this upcoming Saturday, but did not play yesterday, and they're not playing today. Their game got postponed. So not much Kentucky news to talk about, but we'll get into them towards the end of the week when they get another game. So, and then your rest of your New York sports update will be in that final topic. So, so with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So Aaron Jones rumors, Dolphins, Packers, running back have mutual interest in free agency. Obviously, yesterday was the first day for openings of franchise tags being used. Obviously, organizations, teams, coaches, GMs will now sit around a table, negotiate with players, talk about whether they want to give a player a long-term extension, whether they want to franchise tag them, or whether they want them to walk into free agency with no deal and let them leave the team and go somewhere else. We'll see how it all plays out. I noted a little bit of it yesterday, but like I said today, you're not going to see too much stuff probably until a little bit. But I thought today's story was really interesting, this Aaron Jones story about them and him and the Dolphins having mutual interest in each other. And like I said, there's always stories out there that could be real, they could be fake, they could be completely just predictions and they name a random source. But I really feel like, this is trustable sources, it's an insider, it's kind of things like that. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. But it's a Dolphins person that's close to the Dolphins team. They're saying that they have mutual interest in each other. And it's kind of weird. I thought how this story was a little weird. But you're obviously going to hear all these rumors and stuff like this. You're going to hear, that this team has mutual interest in this player. You're going to hear that this guy wants to go to this team, or this team wants this guy, or this guy wants to stay with this team. You're going to hear all that. But realistically, it's not the player's choice, right? Realistically, it's the business. If the team franchise tags them and decides to trade them, well, they're going to have to deal with it. If the team gives them a new contract, that's when the players have a little bit more control of what they want in the contract. But for the most part, this is a business. The players have no control on what to do over. So this story means that more so that Dolphins, that Aaron Jones' agent, Aaron Jones' people around Jones have shown interest in possibly going to the Dolphins. And this could be for multiple different reasons, and I'll get into some of them now, is the fact that, first off, Aaron Jones, it could very well be because of the offense. But I thought this story was very interesting. And Aaron Jones is one of the big names in the NFL. Aaron Jones is one of the big names in the NFL. And he is. He's one of the biggest running backs in the NFL right now. He's very good. One of the best running backs in the NFL. And I have some stats here to show it that he is one of the better running backs in all of the NFL. And a couple, it could be, Aaron Jones showing interest in the Miami Dolphins. I just thought it was interesting because the Miami Dolphins have a running back that broke out last season in Myles Gaskin, who had a very good year. The Washington product out of the University of Washington had a very good year last season with the Miami Dolphins. And now a report comes out that the Dolphins have mutual interest in Aaron Jones, and Aaron Jones has interest in the Dolphins. And that's where the business side of things, the things that are out of the player's control, come into play. Because Aaron Jones, obviously Aaron Jones, obviously has interest there, but Myles Gaskin might want to stay in Miami, but things like that. I mean, to be honest, though, I really could see that I could really see Miami making moves this offseason. And I'll tell you what, no one, as crazy as it may sound, Tua's job in Miami isn't secure. I wouldn't say that job's secure. Very well, you could see a trade for Watson in Miami right now. You might see a signing of Aaron Jones. You might see Myles Gaskin not be the starting running back if Aaron Jones takes over there, right? I'll tell you what, usually young teams' jobs are usually safer, if you're a young player, like especially Tua. You would think for any high pick in the draft like Tua was, his job would be safe. After 1 year of playing, you wouldn't even think about trading him. No matter if he had a great year or a bad year, you wouldn't even think about it. You would be like, okay, give this guy some more time to develop. And also, Tua, they're bringing in a new offensive system here. So, no job do I feel like on Miami's. And Miami, man, they're a risky team. They're a making kind of moves team. They're a team that's going to go out there no matter how old or young you are. They're going to try do their best to win a championship. And I really believe this is what this story means here, is the fact that, yeah, Myles Gaskin's young and got a bright future, but they might want to win a championship now, and that does mean bringing in Aaron Jones. So I'll tell you what, Miami, no one's job, I really believe, is safe in Miami right now, and that goes for Myles Gaskin. Now, do I think Aaron Jones is going to go to the Dolphins? If I had to put money, if I had to choose, no. But I just find it interesting that after Myles Gaskin having a great season, was one of the better running backs in the league last season, now all of a sudden you're going out and targeting Aaron Jones. It's interesting. It almost sounds like they want to win a championship and they want to win it now. They don't want to win it a couple years down the road. They would rather win it now. They would rather sign Deshaun Watson, try to win a championship now, than develop Tua and possibly win a championship down the road. That's how I feel this Miami team is doing, which can make for a very fun offseason for them, because they might trade some players and sign some players that you wouldn't expect to be signed and traded by the Dolphins, but you might see it. And this is just kicking it off with this Aaron Jones rumor here. But Aaron Jones brings everything to the table, and Aaron Jones brings a lot. Obviously, Aaron Jones had a great season last year with the Green Bay Packers. I mean, to be honest, you could say that he was a big part of that Packers team, and why this team went to the NFC Championship game last season. And I get it, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Valdez-Scantling had his moments, and I understand, they had a great seasons too, and I'm not avoiding that. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had a very good season, Valdez-Scantling had a very good season, Devontae Adams had a very good season, right? I mean, their receiving core had a very good season. I mean, period. Their passing game last season, Aaron Rodgers won the MVP. Obviously, you're going to talk about that stuff, but I really believe that Aaron Jones was one of the big keys to that team and why they got to the playoffs and why ultimately they got one game shy of the Super Bowl. Obviously ended up losing to the eventual Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But it really is crazy though. I mean, Aaron Jones, he's definitely a hot name this offseason. And, he's a great player, brings a lot to the table. He brings speed. Like I said, he's one of the best running backs in the league. I mean, it's a guy, he's a big touchdown guy. He's gonna score touchdowns. His yards might not be through the roof. His yards might not be, the best in the league. He might not be putting up 2,000-yard seasons, but his yards is still very good. This guy, I wouldn't say Aaron Jones, and this is what I like about certain running backs, is I wouldn't say Aaron Jones is a running back. I wouldn't say Aaron Jones is a, to be honest, I wouldn't say Aaron Jones is like a great at one thing. He's not great at one thing or amazing. He's very good at a bunch of things. He's very good at a bunch of things. He's good at yards. He gets the ball a ton, and that doesn't wear him down. He could run the ball 15, 20 times a game. He's okay with it. He's good at touchdowns. He's good at averages. He's good at getting average. I mean, his average this season is really good. His average per play this season has been amazing this season, right? He's not 2,000-yard season, and then his other stats are okay. He's very good at each stat. He's top of the league in almost every single stat. Right, he's top 10 in the league in almost every single stat. Right, he is very good at each category, which really is good. Because sometimes everyone always talks about, oh, this guy had a great season in this category. Well, yeah, but look at the other stat categories. Look at some of the other ones. Was he good in this category? Was he good in this category? Aaron Jones crosses all those boxes off. Now, this is the one interesting thing. Aaron Jones is going to want the money this offseason. He is. After showing that he is a very solid player, after showing that he's playing at a high level, and after showing that you put a good offensive line in front of him, he could be one of the top running backs in the league. And, I mean, you can't, like I said, everyone probably agrees here, Aaron Jones is one of the top running backs in the NFL. Whether you hate him, like him, or love him, or hate him, or have no feelings for him like me, there's been so many rumors, but, a guy like Aaron Jones, he would be a great addition to many different teams here. I mean, I would love to see Aaron Jones on the Jets. Is that going to happen? I have no clue. But wherever Aaron Jones goes, he's going to want the money, which brings up an interesting scenario here in Miami. Because what if down the road, one of these guys in Miami wants a ton of money? You're going to have to decide there. You're going to have to really decide who to give the money to. And this is what brings up an interesting thing here is, what are you going to do if you're the Green Bay Packers? If the Green Bay Packers hear this and they hear that it's true, for the most part, we think it's true. Multiple sources have confirmed it. But if we hear that this is 110% true, do the Green Bay Packers go ahead and say, you know what? We're going to tag Aaron Jones and trade him to a team like the Dolphins who might be interested in him, and we're going to get a lot in return, and we're going to build around that way. I mean, if I was the Green Bay Packers, I wouldn't do that. But, I mean, if you hear that the Dolphins are willing to give up a lot for him, if you hear that the Dolphins are willing to give up 2 to 3 players and maybe a pick for him, if you're the Packers, you might have to jump on that. And not saying that that's going to happen, but that could be an option. If this rumor does to come out to be true, which, like I said, multiple sources have confirmed this rumor that it is true, that doesn't mean Aaron Jones is going to go to the Dolphins. It just means that, that would be one of the teams that he would be okay with going to, and that would be one of the teams he would be open to negotiating with. Do the Packers go ahead and say, you know what? If he wants to go to this team, let's tag him, give him the franchise tag, which is what makes it so interesting, the franchise tag, which we'll find out by March 9th, whether he's going to be a free agent, whether they sign him to a long-term deal or franchise tag him. Let's franchise tag him and trade him to the Dolphins and get a lot in return. Let's say the Dolphins really want Aaron Jones. Green Bay can play it smart and go ahead. You know what? We're going to tag him. We're going to tag Aaron Jones. We're going to trade him to the Dolphins. That could be a situation there. And that could be a situation. That could really be a big situation there. That could make a big move, a big splash. Do I think that's going to happen? No. But you just got to brainstorm, just got to think. But I thought this story was really interesting. So, we'll see how it plays out. But if I was the Green Bay Packers, I would try everything in my power to get Aaron Jones back. And I get it. Some Packers fans might go ahead and say, well, we got, A.J. Dillon. And we got, obviously we got Dillon, and we got, obviously, and we also got Jamal Williams, and I get that. I get that those are 2 young running backs that have a bright future. But Aaron Jones, like I said, he's just a pivotal part of that team. I don't think you can let him go. And if you're gonna let him go, if he's gonna sign elsewhere, then he signs elsewhere. That's out of your control. It is what it is. If he signs elsewhere, he's going to sign elsewhere. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Jones believes that he's going to have the best deal to go sign somewhere else. I mean, Aaron Jones is probably the best running back out there right now. And there's multiple teams. I mean, some teams have shown interest. I mean, the Jets have been rumored. The Jets have been rumored. Now the Dolphins have been rumored. The Bills haven't been rumored, but the Bills could be a team that could be looking for him. And they don't have a terrible running core, but they could definitely use maybe a little bit of an upgrade at the position. It's not a need, but they could use an upgrade. It's not like a glaring need for them that they really need a running back because they've got an amazing quarterback. They could throw the ball 40 times a game and still win. They did that they did that all season long. If you don't believe me, look at the numbers. They did it all season long. The Bills did. They will be throwing the ball 40, 45 times a game and running it maybe only 10, and they'll be able to they found a way to win 13 games in a regular season and get one game away from the Super Bowl. So they did that okay, which is why I don't think they would be in there. But there's many teams out there that could be in the running for Aaron Jones. I mean, you could even say the Steelers could be in the running for him. James Conner had a very average year. I mean, is he a guy that's going to be able to, he's had one great year and one average year and then another average year. Is he going to be a guy that you can trust going down the road? They one of the worst running games in the NFL. The Jets could use him, like I said. I mean, you can even go ahead and, if you really push in here, you could even go, the Patriots have some solid running backs, but you could even go ahead, the Patriots could use another upgrade at that position, right? There's so many things. I just thought it was interesting because the Dolphins have a very good running back in Myles Gaskin, and to get Aaron Jones would be interesting, which is why I feel like if you could see a scenario here, a tag and trade. If the Dolphins really, really want Aaron Jones, and you and Aaron Jones couldn't come to an agreement, you go ahead, you know what, let's tag him and let's trade him. You don't see that very often, but it's very well a possibility. So Aaron Jones rumors, Dolphins, Packers, running back have mutual interest in free agency. The Miami Dolphins are reportedly among the teams that Green Bay Packers running back Aaron Jones is willing to consider in free agency this offseason, according to Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald. Per that report, the interest is mutual. Other teams may be running too. Let's see. Okay, so here we go. So, for example, teams like the Cardinals and Texans could be in play for a running back. Very true. Cardinals, Kenyon Drake's a free agent. He probably won't resign. If he doesn't resign there, they could be in play for guys like Aaron Jones. A team like the Texans could be a team that could be in play for Aaron Jones. Obviously, with David Johnson. He had a good year last year, but I would take Aaron Jones over David Johnson. And you also got to see here O-line stuff. So, Aaron Jones, obviously, he's going to base a lot of this stuff off the offensive line. Jones, 26, had another excellent season for the Packers in 2020, rushing for 1,104 yards and 9 touchdowns in 14 games, adding 47 receptions for 355 yards and 2 scores. It was the highest second straight year exceeding 1,000 rushing yards and double-digit touchdowns. The question for Jones is what type of market will develop for him in free agency. The running back position has steadily been devalued by NFL teams, and while Jones has been more productive in recent years, and he isn't an explosive playmaker on the level of positions elite like the positions elite like Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara. Like I said, he's not the best. He's one of the best, but he's not McCaffrey. He's not a Kamara. He's probably a top 10, maybe top 5 running back in the NFL. Maybe top 5. Because, if you're going off of this year, probably top 5. But, if you're going to have, if Saquon, for example, he was injured this season, but more than likely, when he's healthy, he's top 5. So, if you're going off of this season, Christian McCaffrey this season wasn't top 5. If you're going off of just running backs in the NFL right now, it might be tough to put him in the top 5. But he's very good. And he's still explosive. He's just, you can't be the best ever. It's hard to be the best. He's one of the best, though. As such, his expected payday won't be in that tier either. Yeah, he's, that's why I'm interested to see how much money he does. Because he should get I don't know how much money, he definitely, if he's going to, his contract will probably be decent. Just one of the things is, he definitely deserves a lot of money because of how good he's been. But the question is he going to ask for, is he going to ask for that? Or is he just going to go out there and get a lower contract and just light it up again? We'll see. The Dolphins would present an interesting match. The running back position has been an area of need for several years. Even if Myles Gaskin, 584 rushing yards, 41 catches for 388 yards, and 5 touchdowns in 10 games, showed promise in his sophomore campaign. Jones' agent, Drew Rosenhaus, offered the following answer when asked about the potential interest between Jones and the Dolphins by WSVN Fox 7 sports anchor John Moser over the weekend. The Dolphins like their current running back group, including Myles Gaskin, who had a big year last year. Aaron Jones is one of the best overall players in free agency. First-class person, first-class player, just too early to say if Dolphins might be interested. Obviously, they've got my number. We'll talk a lot about different things. For now, we'll find out in a couple weeks. So, like I said, that happened over the weekend. Yesterday was when the report came out. So now it looks like they are showing interest, which means that they've gone in contact with them, and it looks like they are negotiating a little bit. As for his future in Green Bay, the Packers drafted A.J. Dillon with the second-round pick in 2020 and may not be willing to get into bidding for Jones for that reason. Though they also could choose to use the franchise or transition tag to keep him for another year. They could instead use the money freed up by parting ways with Jones to address other positions of need, namely on the defense side of the ball. If that's their play, the Dolphins might await with arms open for Jones. So, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But like I said, that's another thing too. Is A.J. Dillon, Jamal Williams, do you just want to turn to those guys and look towards the future there? Because you got to realize, Packers, as much as I hate to say it, or not really hate to say it, but as much as Packers fans don't want to hear this, the Packers are going to enter a rebuild in a little bit. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be there for much longer. He'll probably play for maybe 1-2 more years. Aaron Jones very well could be out of there. And then it's time to turn to your young running backs like A.J. Dillon and Jamal Williams. And, your younger quarterback in Jordan Love. Or maybe Jordan Love's out of there by, who knows? I'm predicting 1 to 2 years from now. Who knows what's going to happen with the Green Bay Packers. But for the time being, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I think really what depends on how this Jones free agency thing goes is depending on what the Packers see in A.J. Dillon and Jamal Williams. If they believe those guys can produce well and be solid, then they'll go ahead and say, you know what, we're going to free up money and build around other positions. If they believe that that's not the answer and they need Jones, they might franchise tag him, give him 1 more year, and then make the decision next season, cross that bridge when it comes. We'll see how that plays out. But definitely seems it's pointing towards Aaron Jones is not going to be playing with the Green Bay Packers. Which team will he be playing with? I don't know. But he's not going to be playing with the Green Bay Packers. That's what it's pointing towards. I could be wrong. We all could be wrong. He could shock us all and go to a random team that none of us expected. We've seen that before. Who expected DeAndre Hopkins to get traded for David Johnson? Absolutely nobody. But in regards to this Aaron Jones situation, the way it's looking like they're leaning towards their young guys. That's the way it looks. But I could be wrong. Like I said, the Packers could be full on trying to pursue them right now quietly and trying to get a deal done. Who we don't know. I've never talked to the Packers GM. I don't have inside information. I'm just the guy talking about these topics. So we'll see how it plays out. But, definitely going to make for intriguing. Like they said, he's one of the better overall players, in the free agency. So we'll see how it plays out. But I wanted to read this to you. So I have the numbers here for both running backs. I compared them here. We'll go with rushing and receiving first. So what makes this interesting, this story, is that the Dolphins, maybe Aaron Jones could have interest in a team, and that team doesn't have interest in him. But the fact that the Dolphins have interest, and I get it, their running back is still a glaring need, and it was one great year by Myles Gaskin, and I understand that. But still, Myles Gaskin had such a good season. Now, it wasn't what Aaron Jones is doing, but still, it's a solid year for a guy who, at times, wasn't on the field when he should have been on the field because he was kind of a player that no one expected him to do this well. So let's look at some of these numbers here. Alrighty, so like I said, let's look at some of the numbers here. So, Myles Gaskin had a very good season, like I said. But, I want to really look at the numbers and show you that this could be a situation, like I said, it could just be a possibility. And it's not that it's going to happen, but it could be a possibility where they go ahead and use their tag and trade him and go ahead and say, hey, you know what? We could get good assets back for Aaron Jones if the Dolphins are willing to really get him. So here we go. So let's look at the rushing numbers last season. So Aaron Jones last season had 201 attempts. That was 10th in the NFL. He had 1,104 yards. That was 4th in the NFL. He had 9 touchdowns. That was tied for 11th in the NFL. And he had a 5.5 rush yards average per play. That was 5th in the NFL. Now let's look at Myles Gaskin's stats. Nowhere near as good, but still solid. Attempts, he had 142 attempts. That was 30th in the league. Yards, that was 584. That was 37th in the league. Touchdowns, that was 3. That was tied for 39th in the league. And average was 4.1, which was 40th in the league. So Jones was nowhere near the top 10, top 15. But who you give the numbers to, Aaron Jones was better in attempts, better in yards, better in touchdowns, and better in average. Average, he was only better by 1.4. 4.1 average is still solid, but not as good as Aaron Jones. So the rushing stats show Aaron Jones is better. But the receiving stats, on the other hand, is a little different. So Aaron Jones' receiving stats this season, he had 63 targets, 47 receptions, 355 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns. Let's look at Myles Gaskin's targets this season. He had 47 targets, 41 receptions, 388 yards, and 2 touchdowns. These are their receiving stats. So Aaron Jones beats him in targets and receptions, but Myles Gaskin beats him in yards, and Aaron Jones and Myles Gaskin, are tied for 2 touchdowns apiece on the rushing side of things, or passing side of things. So if you look at it, Myles Gaskin's he was better receiving. You give Myles Gaskin a full season with a lot more carries, he would be a lot better. I mean, if you look at it, Aaron Jones is getting over more than 50 carries than him. You give Myles Gaskin 50 more carries, he could do a lot more damage. And something I thought was interesting too is yes, Aaron Jones had more catches last season, which was 47. Myles Gaskin only had 41. But Myles Gaskin only had 6 incompletions. Aaron Jones had 16 when thrown to him. So, not saying that it was better that way, but Myles Gaskin, obviously, when they threw to him, the success rate was higher. He only had 6 incompletions. As for Aaron Jones, there was 16 incompletions. So, big difference there. That's one thing. Now, Aaron Jones is the better running back, but this could create an interesting situation in Green Bay if they realize that they could still get a solid running back in return. I thought those numbers were interesting. Because to look at it, that's why I also thought this was too interesting. They still got a solid running back, and they're going to give him to somewhere else. I thought it was very interesting. So we'll see how it all plays out. But I really believe that this Aaron Jones situation is just going to turn into where he signs with a team. I don't think there's going to be any tags trade situation. I think they're going to go ahead and say, you know what, Aaron Jones, you've been great with this team. The fans have loved you, all that great stuff, but we're going to move on. You're going to go somewhere else. We're going to go our separate ways. That's how I think it's going to play out, but it's still fun to think of these different things and see how it plays out. So, we'll get into it. Coming up next, I decided to provide a little bit of a spring training update for the New York Yankees. There's been a lot with the New York Yankees involving spring training and players reporting and different players and just various different stuff that has went on in spring training. So we're gonna get into that. Talk about a little bit of a spring training update coming up next. Alrighty, so let's get this up here. So obviously the baseball is officially a week through spring training, and the Yankees' first game is February 28th on the Sunday, 1:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find that game on Yes Network, and I'm sure you can find it on other networks as well. But yeah, the Yankees have, officially gotten all their players in here, have officially started full-on spring training with the position players, and we're rolling straight ahead. We are straight on heading for the regular season, which is just about over a couple weeks away here, just about a month away. March 1st will be exactly a month from when the when the MLB season kicks off. So, we're almost about a month away from the MLB season starting, but, we've got spring training, and that's one of the really big things, and, obviously, teams, have officially reported yesterday, everyone's at camp who should be at camp, and players are getting reps in, outfield reps, infield reps, hitting, pitching, catching, whatever the case may be, even coaches, and I said it earlier, coaches aren't getting reps, but, Boone was fielding some balls at first base, taking, receiving for Urshela. A quick thing, though, I wanted to note before I get fully into this topic. Last topic, I would like you guys to comment down below your thoughts on Aaron Jones, and kind of your thoughts on the Aaron Jones situation at Dolphins. I thought it was pretty interesting because who knows what's gonna happen with the Dolphins and Aaron Jones, because it could turn into a tag and trade situation. But I wanted you to talk about that, guys. Comment down below what you think about the Aaron Jones situation and where do you think he will go. But back to the Yankee spring training update. So yeah, obviously all the players reported yesterday, and everyone is at camp, like I said, who should be at camp. Don't want to repeat myself too much, but they all reported. So it's going pretty good. So it's going pretty good so far. This is obviously the second day with them there. But some interesting things, obviously, so far, so good. Knock on wood with the injuries, or more like knock on table. But so far, the Yankees and their whole, the Yankees and the players have been able to stay healthy, not just on the virus side of things, but so far, no injuries. So far, doing pretty well. Obviously, we had Clark Schmidt, who was one of our prospects, get injured. 3 to 4 weeks, he's going to be out with a forearm injury. He's expected to miss opening day. Not that he was going to probably pitch an opening day, but he's obviously expected to miss it. So we'll see, what happens with him. But so far so good. Obviously, second day with players here, I wouldn't. Still things are still going a little slower here, and things are getting interesting here. But it's going to be interesting to see how this whole injury thing plays out. And obviously, Judge talked yesterday to the media about his whole new workout stuff like that. But what I really wanted to see this offseason, or not even just offseason, but this spring training, is I wanted to see some of our guys that we added that were supposed to be our depth guys, and the guys that we added to supposedly help this team with the depth, help this team with the injuries and things like that. And so far, they've done very, very well. I mean, I've seen Jameson Taillon throw a couple balls. I've seen Garrett Cole throw a bullpen. He's not a depth guy, though. He's going to be opening day starter. I've even seen guys like Corey Kluber. I even saw him throw a bullpen. He was really solid. I mean, I'm sure many Yankees fans like me, and I'm sure many of you guys at home have been watching some clips, watching different stuff involving the Yankees. I've been watching the Yankees clips almost every day. They're all over. You can find them, just clips of them. I mean, even like I said yesterday, it's even just the simple stuff. It's even just like the simple stuff. Like I just love baseball so much. It's even just the simple stuff. I don't know why, but I find a 1.5-minute video of just watching Gio Urshela fielding ground balls. I find that entertaining. You might not. You might hate it. You might think that's crazy boring, but I find a 1.5-minute video of Gio Urshela fielding ground balls. I enjoy watching that. Now, that could also be because I just love the sport of baseball and I love the watching and stuff, but I find that fun to watch. But I've been watching a bunch of the clips and seeing a bunch of stuff, and so far the guys look pretty good. So far, obviously you really can't tell, because you don't know how fast they're throwing. You really don't know what they're throwing because some of the camera angles are really only focused on the player, and you don't really know how fast they're throwing. You can't see the velo and stuff like that. So, all that stuff will come on when they're on TV, and you could see it, from the view, and you could see how their pitches are going and stuff like that. You could see all that. But so far, so good. Like I said, as players start to ramp up, that's when you'll really get to see, who's going to be a serious person on the team and who's a guy that's going to probably, because it's very easy just to play throw, and it's very easy to throw the ball and catch the ball and impress your coaches. It's very simple to do that. Some of these guys like pitchers and stuff, when they're throwing the ball back and forth, it's very easy to impress your coaches when you're doing that. It's when you get out onto the mound and really get onto the mound and get into some live game action. And that's going to be something interesting. And that's really what I thought was interesting about the MLB, was where they're going to do some intra-squad games. So your team plays your team, they split you up. Pitchers are on one team, pitchers are on another team. You split up the pitchers, split up the players. You're going to split up the players. Not all the players are going to be on one team. You're going to split up the players a little bit. Obviously, last season they did inter-squad games. That was kind of their way of doing, an inter-squad game. That was kind of their way, of getting ready. That was kind of their spring training in a way. Obviously, you had those three preseason games you had, but still, outside of that, you didn't have much. So they did those inter-squad games. They did some of the warm-up games and stuff like that, to see some live pitching and see some live action. And they're going to do that again this year, which is where I thought, you're going to see a lot of, you might see a lot of different guys get a lot of, different action. That's really, I think, when you can start to really judge and really start to gauge, what guy's going to be a key contribute, what guy's going to be, maybe more on the bench, what guy's going to be sent down to the minors, what guy might come up and might not come up. That's when you're really going to get a good idea, is during those inter-squad games and during the spring training games. But I've thought so far, the pitchers have looked good, the players have looked good. As maybe crazy as it sounds, you also want to see who comes into camp ready to go. Someone comes into spring training and they look like they haven't touched a baseball in months. Well, that's a problem. There's always going to be a little bit of rust. But if you're a guy who hasn't touched a baseball in months, you show up and you don't look ready, well, that's a problem. So far, all the players that have shown up, they look ready. They look like they want to go. They look like they're a team that's thirsty and very hungry for a World Series championship. And as a fan, as many other you guys at home too, I'm sure you are very anxious. We haven't had a championship in a little bit here, and we're getting a little impatient now. I shouldn't complain too much. We have 28 of them. Some teams only have a couple. But still, obviously with this, whole thing. But something I thought was interesting, which came out yesterday, was, that Giancarlo Stanton, he might play a little bit of outfield this year. And obviously Stanton at the beginning part of his career, especially when he played with the Marlins, he played a little bit with the Yankees in the outfields, but especially when he played with the Marlins, he played a lot of outfield. That was his position. It was center field. He played outfield. Obviously, especially with the Marlins. And why I say especially with the Marlins was, one, because he was younger, and number two, there was no DH. So he had to play outfield. It's either... and that's the problem with the DH. That's the problem with not having a DH, is if you're going to not have a DH, if there's one of your power hitters who's only doing good hitting, who only wants to hit or is only really great at hitting, and they're struggling in the outfield, you have to sit them that one day and they can't play at all. So that's one big thing there. But there's some rumors here. There were some rumors here about Stanton that he might, the chances of him playing outfield aren't completely gone. There's still a chance that, he plays, and there's still a chance that he gets out there and gets some action there. And I thought of that as interesting. And comment down below your opinion on that. I mean, I like Stanton a lot, and I know a lot of Yankees fans out there, don't like him, and I know a lot of people, not a big fan of him, and I get that, and I understand that. There's frustration, obviously. He's obviously, he hasn't been amazing. I mean, he's been solid, but he hasn't been anything we expect, and I get that. But one of the things with, Stanton here is not, and I get it. A lot of people just want to look and watch him in games, and he might be that good, and I understand that. But if you really look at the numbers, you really look how he's been playing, and you really take a deep dive into his play, he hasn't been terrible with this team. I know a lot of people just want him to be... I know a lot of people just hate him, think he's terrible now. And I can see where people are coming from. I can see that. But personally, in my opinion, I like Stan a lot. And I know a lot of Yankees fans still like him. But I think you really, fans, before you just bash Stanton or before someone just hates on Stanton, you gotta look. I mean, he had a very good postseason last year, and hopefully that carries into this season. He had a decent year last year when he was healthy. He got off to a very solid start, then got injured, and it was pretty solid again. If he stays healthy, he can get back, and I think that's one of the big things. I don't think it's everyone's saying that he's losing it. I don't think so much that he's losing it as more if it's just if he could stay healthy, he could be what he was in Miami. And a lot of people always just want to go to the age factor. Well, no, you really can't go there right away. Because Stanton, I wouldn't say that just because of the age. Obviously, if you get older a little bit, you're going to lose a little bit. But he's not like he's late 30s. I mean, this is a guy who is still got a very good swing, still got a very good team. I mean, he's only 31 years old. So, a lot of people, I think, all of a sudden just want to immediately go ahead to the hatred route and go ahead and say he's terrible. But if you really look at the numbers, if you really deep dive into him, he didn't play that terrible last season. He didn't. I mean, he didn't have a great year, but he wasn't terrible either. And, I think if he could stay healthy, it would be much better. And that's one of the big things there. I mean, if he could stay healthy, that would be big. And that's where I really think it is. Obviously, I think people just say that he's bad just because he can't stay healthy. But if he could stay healthy, he would be in a much better situation. And I think we can all agree on that. So, 2020 postseason stats. Look at his player. I'm going to read you his postseason numbers, Stanton's here. And we'll get to the rest of the final topic here. 26 at-bats, 308 batting average, 6 home runs, 13 RBIs, no stolen bases because that's not him, and a 1.426 OPS. 308 batting average. That's very good. His regular season batting average was 250. So he was way up in the postseason, which is big because a lot of times postseason baseball is pivotal. So comment down below your thoughts on the Yankee spring training. Garrett Cole, obviously named, which creates for an interesting situation at the catcher position because you're going to go with. Are you going to go with Sanchez just being that he's the opening day guy, or are you going to go with Higgy, because he's better with Higgy? That creates an interesting situation there, too. So we'll see how it plays out. But I feel like so many people are just hating on Stanton. But if you look at the numbers, he hasn't been terrible. He's just got to stay healthy. If he stays healthy, he can be much better. And I think last season, he showed, slight promise of that. Last season he played 23 games, which wasn't a lot. But, at least, I just hope that he can somehow turn it around. I mean, his first season with the New York Yankees played 158 games. He was very good with his first season with the New York Yankees. He was very solid. He played 158 games. He only missed 4. It's been the past 2 years that have really struggled. with the injuries. If he can get back on track, we've seen how he can be. I mean, it's the truth. 158 games. He had a very good season. He had 38 home runs. He had a 266 batting average. And, I mean, he had 70 doubles, 100 RBIs. 100. You know how hard a 100 RBI season is? That was only his third 100 RBI season in his career. So it really is crazy. If he can stay healthy, he can be dominant. That's the one thing, though. Which is why I think it's interesting that they're going to put him in that right, and possibly not in center field, but they're saying that outfield for Stanton isn't completely out of the equation. So we'll see how it plays out. But, yeah. So now I move on to the final topics of the day. Comment down below your thoughts on the Yankee spring training and you know, just baseball in general. Would love to hear that. So let's get into college basketball here. Yesterday, Texas won, Kansas State won, Ole Miss won, Villanova won, Baylor won, Michigan State won, Georgia Tech won, and West Virginia won. And today we got Virginia and North Carolina State give Virginia the win. Florida State and Miami give Florida State the win. Arkansas, Alabama give Arkansas the win. Creighton, DePaul give Creighton the win. And Tennessee, Vanderbilt give Tennessee the win. And as for the NBA, yesterday the Nuggets won, Clippers won, Bucks won, Mavericks won, 76ers won, Warriors won, Cavs won, and Pistons won. Nets also won yesterday, 127-118. We moved to 21-12 on the season. Another great performance, another amazing performance for us. 7-game win streak here. Bruce Brown had a great game, 29 points. James Harden, 29 points. Kyrie, 21 points. Just an excellent performance. A great team effort again, and we look good again, and great win there. Celtics, today's NBA games, we got Celtics, Hawks give Celtics the win. Rockets, Cavs give Rockets the win. Pacers, Warriors give Pacers the win. Pelicans, Pistons give Pelicans the win. Heat, Raptors give Heat the win. Spurs, Thunder give Thunder the win. Bulls, Timberwolves give Bulls the win. Suns, Hornets give Suns the win. And Jazz, Lakers give Jazz the win. As for the NHL yesterday, the Oilers won, Predators won, Senators won, Blackhawks won, Penguins won, and Sabres won. Today we got the Lightning, Hurricanes. I will give Lightning the win. Panthers, Stars give Panthers the win. Maple Leafs, Flames give Maple Leafs the win. Coyotes, Ducks give Coyotes the win. Avalanche, Wild give Avalanche the win. Blues, Kings give Blues the win. And today the Rangers also play. Rangers coming in this game 6-7-3. Flyers coming in this game 8-4-3. The over/under is 5.5 for this game. This game comes on today, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on NBCSN. Obviously Panarin's out, which is big, which isn't good. But here's my thing here. I'll give the Rangers the win here, and I'll tell you why. Okay, I deep down inside it's going to be tough, but the Flyers have really struggled. And the Rangers are finally starting to pick it up a little bit. So, you got to sit here and think, okay, well, maybe this is the sign of something for the Rangers. But they started to pick it up ever since Panarin came back, and now Panarin's out. So we'll see how it plays out. But, for a team that's had a tough time scoring goals against a team that's had a really tough time stopping goals, it's going to make for an interesting matchup. So I'll give the Rangers the win. Alright, so fantasy basketball, I'm winning 411 to 301, so going pretty good there. Today I've got going Trae Young, Jimmy Butler, Jeremy Grant, Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, Victor Oladipo, Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, and Kemba Walker. My injury report is loaded here. Victor Oladipo foot is questionable for Wednesday's game against the Cavaliers. Jonathan Fine of the Houston Chronicle reports. Let's see here. Davis is still out. Lowry is also out. Lowry ankle is probable for Wednesday's game against the Heat. Josh Lewenberg of TSN.ca reports. And Kemba Walker is day-to-day. Walker is out for rest Wednesday against the Hawks. So, good news on Lowry there, though. And I'm also winning in fantasy hockey 34-37 or 34-31, so going pretty good there. Today I've got going Mika Zibanejad, Steven Stamkos, Braden Point, Ansez Kopitar, Jamie Benn, Johnny Graduate, Braden Shen, and Joe Pavelski. And my goalies are Jacob Markstrom and John Gibson. Markstrom is out, though. Markstrom, upper body, isn't expected to be in the lineup for Wednesday's game versus the Maple Leafs. Derek Wills of Sportsnet 960, The Fan, reports. So we'll see how that all goes. But we'll see how that plays out. It's like I said yesterday, it just stinks. The injuries stink in fantasy sports. You just wish you could clean that all up, the injuries. But, a lot of sports news, a lot of great news coming out. A lot of great news. I mean, I've had topics so easily, it's crazy. I've had topics easily, like yesterday, Aaron Jones news comes out, boom, Aaron Jones. I knew I was going to talk about Yankee spring training, and I was like, boom, there's my second topic. Like, I'm finding topics. Like, I have topics, for pods coming up here. Like, that's how much sports news there is, and it's great. It's great. At the same time, you love NFL season and all that, but sometimes the off season in sports too, that's when like some of the news really comes out. You like the regular season, you'll talk all about it and stuff, but sometimes it's the off season where a lot of the action happens. That's when those moves are really made. That's the big stuff. So, hopefully we get some good action this off season. The MLB off season was pretty good for the most part. NBA offseason was pretty slow. There wasn't too many crazy trades. I mean, there was a couple blockbusters, but nothing amazing. As a matter of fact, I think the biggest trade in NBA happened during the season when the Nets went out and got James Harden. But we'll see how it goes with the Yankees and the Stan thing, and I want to see what happens with Aaron Jones and stuff. But a lot of free agency coming up, and I'm going to mix it with baseball. Just know a lot of baseball and football is coming up. Because football, you got free agents and stuff, and baseball, you got the season starting. So you're going to get a lot of news of that there. But some of your comments I would like to hear down below. Comment down below, Aaron Jones, all that good stuff. What you think about him, stuff like that. And comment down below at Yankee spring training. Stanton, Cole, any of your opinions on the Yankees. Would love to see it in the comment section. So that should be good. But yeah, with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.